05:17 local time. Northern Arabian Sea. Inside the operations center, the air is calm and cold. Consoles glow in the low light. Radar returns sweep across the SPY-1 display in perfect rhythm. Routine maritime traffic fills the outer rings. Then 4 surface tracks change behavior at the same time. Speed increase, course adjustment, formation tightening, no AIS. No bridge-to-bridge response, no civilian routing pattern. Multiple fast movers. Bearing 098, range 21 nautical miles. The contacts accelerate from 14 knots to 32 in less than 90 seconds. This is not random movement, it is coordinated. The tactical action officer leans forward. His voice stays level. Confirm track correlation. The answer comes back immediately. Correlation confirmed. All 4 vessels belong to the same cluster. Iranian fast patrol craft profile. Low radar cross-section. Strong wake signature. They are not drifting. They are vectoring. On the bridge, the destroyer holds steady course. No visible reaction. No dramatic turn. No sudden change in speed. From the outside, nothing looks different. Inside the ship, everything changes. Condition 3. Set and man key stations. The announcement moves through the passageways with no panic, but no delay. Sailors secure loose gear. Key stations come alive. Electronic monitoring systems move to full attention. The forward 5-inch mount turns 5 degrees to starboard. Not aimed, just visible enough to send a message. Range closes to 18 nautical miles. One Iranian vessel moves slightly ahead of the others, adjusting its bearing toward the destroyer's projected path. CPA, closest point of approach, begins shrinking in real time. CPA, now 3.6 nautical miles. Time to CPA, 8 minutes. The bridge-to-bridge hail goes out. Unidentified Iranian naval vessels, this is a United States warship conducting lawful transit in international waters. You are approaching at high speed. Recommend you alter course immediately. No response. A second hail is transmitted in Farsi. Still nothing. Electronic monitoring logs a narrow band radar sweep from the coastline. Low power surface search mode. Not locked, but watching. Then the tactical display updates again. 2 additional airborne contacts lift from Bandar Abbas. Altitude climbing through 8,000 feet, heading outbound toward the carrier strike group. The destroyer is not alone in these waters. Over the horizon, the carrier continues on course with layered escorts around it. But geometry matters. Fast surface craft are closing from one direction. Airborne contacts are forming from another. Escalation is not announced. It is measured. Air picture expanding, CIC reports. Recommend alert launch. On the flight deck, steam pressure builds inside the catapults. Yellow shirts move with precise, practiced motion. 2 F/A-18 Super Hornets sit ready, configured strictly for air defense. No external loadout for offensive action. Pure defensive posture. Then the Iranian surface formation splits. 2 craft drift slightly to port. 2 maintain the starboard approach, a classic compression maneuver. Range now 14 nautical miles. Speed holding above 30 knots. Wake patterns confirm sustained throttle. Inside CIC, nobody guesses. They track. Bearing shifts, engine signatures, radar intensity. Every movement is logged. Every second matters. One Iranian vessel makes a sharper cut. Its new track now projects a crossing inside 2 nautical miles of the destroyer's bow. At that distance, a high-speed pass is no longer just movement. It becomes a signal or a mistake waiting to happen. CPA, 2.9 nautical miles and decreasing. The destroyer does not turn. The helm remains steady. Speed remains constant. Electronic countermeasures are ready but passive. The forward close-in defense system begins automatic tracking for calibration. The phalanx mount pivots slightly, its white dome shifting by fractions as the system calculates paths it hopes it will never need. The Iranian boats are now inside 10 nautical miles. Above them, the airborne contacts continue outbound. Then the Super Hornets launch. Twin afterburners carve clean lines across the morning sky. The jets climb without drama, moving into a flanking position between the approaching aircraft and the carrier's axis. No hard targeting signals, no aggressive radar posture, just presence. Back on the surface, one Iranian fast patrol craft increases speed to 34 knots. It edges closer than the others. Projected crossing, inside 1.8 nautical miles. The bridge transmits again. You are conducting unsafe maneuvering. Alter course immediately. Still nothing. The Iranian vessel holds speed. At this range, crews can see hull numbers through optics. Deck personnel are visible. Helmets on. Movement near the forward deck mount. Not fully active, but not casual either. CPA, 1.6 nautical miles. The captain watches the plot for several seconds, then gives one sentence. Log everything. No extra order, no raised voice. Because at sea, escalation is not always measured by open confrontation. Sometimes it is measured by distance, and right now, Iran is closing. 0524 local time. Range, 12 nautical miles. The 4 Iranian fast patrol craft shift formation again. 2 break slightly port, 2 hold starboard. The geometry tightens into a shallow pincer angled toward the destroyer's projected path. Speed remains above 30 knots. This is no longer parallel shadowing, it is compression. Inside the Combat Information Center, track lines redraw in real time. Multiple surface contacts maneuvering with intent. No emotion in the report, just confirmation. Electronic monitoring registers another emission spike from the Iranian coastline. Short duration, surface search radar, not targeting grade, but closer than before. The air picture stabilizes as 2 F/A-18 Super Hornets climb through 20,000 feet. They establish a barrier between the outbound Iranian aircraft and the carrier's axis. Radar remains in track while scan. No hard locks, no aggressive illumination. Up there, restraint is deliberate. Down on the surface, the distance keeps collapsing. 9 nautical miles. One Iranian craft surges ahead of the others. Its wake sharpens into a hard V behind it. Then it adjusts 5 degrees to starboard. Direct intercept. CPA now 2.4 nautical miles. Time to CPA, 5 minutes. The destroyer does not change course. Helm steady, speed constant. That decision is visible to everyone watching. The forward 5-inch mount remains slightly off the centerline. Not threatening, just present. The phalanx close-in defense mount continues its silent calibration sweep, tracking targets in simulation mode. Then one Iranian vessel crosses ahead of the destroyer's projected bow at 2.1 nautical miles. Too close to call coincidence. The bridge transmits again. You are maneuvering unsafely in international waters. Recommend immediate course correction. No response. Instead, the Iranian vessel adds throttle. Exhaust haze thickens. The bow wave rises. Inside CIC, the surface warfare coordinator calls out a detail that changes the tone. Coastal radar spike. Bearing 087. Duration 2 seconds. That is not background traffic. That is attention. Aegis assigns the emission to a known Iranian coastal site signature. Still not targeting grade, but testing. The second pair of Iranian fast boats accelerate in response. They tighten behind the lead vessel, now inside 7 nautical miles. The destroyer remains centered in its transit lane. No zigzag, no retreat. Just forward momentum. Above the waterline, a Seahawk helicopter lifts from the aft deck. Its rotors cut low over the wake before the aircraft banks left and descends to 200 feet above sea level. Its mission is simple. Presence. The helicopter closes the distance faster than the boats. Forward-looking infrared comes online. High-resolution thermal imagery streams back to CIC. Engine heat, deck crew movement, radar arrays. Every signature is captured, logged, and time-stamped. At 1.8 nautical miles, the lead Iranian vessel alters again. A harder turn. Its new course now projects a crossing inside 1.5 nautical miles of the destroyer's bow. At that speed, the margin for error is no longer measured in minutes. It is measured in seconds. Time to CPA, 3 minutes. The phalanx mount rotates directly toward the approaching vessel. Not active, but unmistakable. Above the formation, the Seahawk settles into a wide orbit over the Iranian boats. Its sensor turret centers on the bridge of the lead craft. Optical zoom picks up crew movement near the forward mount. The system remains unmanned, but it is visible. The helicopter transmits on an open frequency. Iranian naval vessel, you are conducting an unsafe approach. Alter course immediately. The warning is repeated in Farsi. No answer. The Iranian craft holds speed. Now inside 1.3 nautical miles. Inside the destroyer, missile systems remain powered, with safeties still engaged. SM-2 intercept solutions calculate silently in the background. They are not needed yet. One of the trailing Iranian vessels edges closer to the destroyer's port quarter, narrowing the gap to just over 2 nautical miles. The formation is nearly complete. Above, the Super Hornets adjust altitude. They slide laterally into a flanking position relative to the inbound Iranian aircraft. Still no hard lock, still no aggressive move. Measured force, measured distance. Surface range drops to 1.2 nautical miles. Then the lead Iranian craft finally reduces speed by 4 knots. Subtle, but recorded. The wake shortens slightly. The vessel drifts a few degrees off its sharp intercept line. Not a retreat, but no longer a direct crossing geometry. The destroyer never altered course, never raised its voice, never initiated contact, but the message has already been sent through steel, radar arcs, and controlled restraint. Iran pushed, the Navy held, and at 0529 local time, the formation begins to loosen. 0531 local time. Range to lead Iranian fast patrol craft, 1.2 nautical miles. Range to the trailing pair, 2.4 nautical miles, and tightening. Inside the Combat Information Center, every console is active but controlled. No shouting, no wasted motion, only precise callouts, clipped and measured. Then it happens. Radar spike, coastal bearing 085. The electronic warfare console flashes amber. Duration, 1.7 seconds. Mode, fire control illumination. That is not routine surface search. That is targeting behavior. The air inside CIC changes, not in volume, in weight. Aegis immediately reprioritizes the track sets. Surface contacts remain primary, but the air picture now rises to a higher alert state. Engagement envelopes begin calculating automatically. No missile leaves a rail, but the math is already running. On the bridge, the captain listens to the report without turning his head. Confirm classification. Confirmed. Coastal battery illumination, not continuous. A pause, then one sentence. Set defensive posture Alpha. No alarm sounds. But inside the ship, everything changes instantly. Launch systems move from standby to active readiness. SM2 circuits fully energized. ESSM cells are assigned probable intercept vectors. The phalanx transitions from simulation tracking to live tracking authorization. Above, at 28,000 feet, the lead Super Hornet pilot hears it. A hard radar lock tone, not a sweep, a lock. The kind of signal that comes before a launch decision. Spike, 12 o'clock high. The Iranian fighter, likely an F-4 Phantom variant or a modernized equivalent, has shifted from observation to targeting grade tracking. 4 seconds. That can be the difference between warning and action in modern air combat. The Hornet banks hard left and drops altitude. Countermeasure systems arm automatically. The AN/ALQ-214 electronic countermeasure suite begins sending jamming pulses, designed to distort the tracking solution. The second Hornet climbs, sliding into high cover, silent behind the Iranian jet. No radar lock return. Not yet. On the surface, the Iranian lead boat senses the shift in the air. It surges again. Throttle forward. Range now 0.9 nautical miles. Too close. The bridge transmits sharply. Iranian vessel, you are inside unsafe maneuvering distance. Alter course immediately. No response. The vessel's bow shifts fractionally toward the destroyer's starboard quarter. Crew movement is visible near the forward-mounted system, still not fully manned, but ready enough to be noticed. Inside CIC, time compresses, air track showing sustained lock, coastal battery silent. The destroyer's radar assigns priority to the airborne threat, intercept geometry plotted, response window calculated. If anything launches from that Iranian aircraft, the timeline is measured in seconds. The captain speaks again, calm, flat. If they initiate, we respond decisively. No elaboration. The rules are understood. Launch undetect authority stands ready. Surface range, 0.8 nautical miles. The wake from the Iranian fast craft begins to buffet lightly against the destroyer's hull. Close enough to feel through steel. The phalanx mount aligns fully. Its mechanical hum is audible topside. The Seahawk widens its orbit, but keeps sensors locked on the lead boat's bridge windows. Infrared captures every heat signature on deck. Every movement, every hesitation, every frame archived above the sea. The Hornet pilot counts silently. 1 second, 2, 3. The lock tone holds, then it disappears. The Iranian jet brakes right, banking sharply back toward the coastline. No launch trail, no flare, just a hard turn and a retreat vector. Lock broken, the pilot reports. The second Hornet maintains position, watching the withdrawal path. Still no return lock, still no escalation. Back on the surface, the Iranian fast patrol craft hesitates. Speed drops from 34 knots to 23. A slight turn opens away from the destroyer's projected path. The trailing pair mirror the movement. The pincer dissolves. Range increases to 1.1 nautical miles. Inside CIC, tension does not release immediately. All systems remain ready. Aegis continues tracking. Intercept solutions remain active in the background. Because the spike happened. And once that happens, doctrine changes. Iran did not initiate contact, but it stepped into the gray edge of engagement. The strike group will not forget that. Above, the Super Hornets shadow the retreating aircraft to a safe standoff distance. No pursuit into territorial airspace, professional distance. Measured disengagement. On the surface, the Iranian fast boats widen separation. 1.5 nautical miles, 2.1. Their wakes stretch longer as throttle decreases. No apology, no radio clarification, just distance. At 0537 local time, the immediate threat vector stabilizes. No launch, no discharge. But escalation brushed the edge of ignition. Iran pushed beyond posture, beyond compression, into targeting grade signaling. And for 4 seconds over the Arabian Sea, the line between warning and open confrontation became razor thin. 0536 local time. The Iranian fighter's radar lock has broken. The fast patrol craft are no longer accelerating. But nothing stands down. Not yet. Inside the Combat Information Center, no one relaxes posture. Because the most dangerous moment in any confrontation is the transition. The second when one side thinks it is over, while the other side is still calculating. Surface contacts reducing speed, now 21 knots. Air tracks turning southeast. Exiting engagement geometry acknowledged. Interceptor systems remain ready. SM-2 batteries hold assigned tracks with safeties still engaged. ESSM envelopes continue updating against low-altitude vectors. The Phalanx maintains live tracking authorization. No one powers anything down. Doctrine is clear. You never assume withdrawal is permanent. Above the water, the Seahawk tightens its orbit once more over the lead Iranian vessel. 200 feet altitude. Wide circle, stable, intentional. Its sensor turret rotates smoothly, capturing hull markings, deck crew posture, antenna arrays, and every visible movement on deck. Every pixel timestamped, every motion archived. The helicopter broadcasts once more. Iranian naval vessel, your approach has been recorded. Maintain safe separation. This time, a response comes. Broken English over the open frequency. We conduct sovereign patrol near our waters. You adjust heading. The reply from the destroyer is immediate and even. United States warship operating in international waters. Your unsafe maneuver has been logged. No debate, no raised tone. The Iranian fast craft alter course by several degrees. A small adjustment, but measurable. Range increases, 1.3 nautical miles, 1.7. The second pair of boats widen even further. Wake lines are no longer converging. In the air, the Super Hornets maintain offset shadow positions relative to the retreating Iranian aircraft. No radar lock in return, no flare, no warning action. Professional discipline, measured superiority. Inside CIC, the electronic warfare officer replays the earlier spike. Fire control illumination. Duration, 1.7 seconds. Frequency band consistent with a coastal anti-ship battery profile. Intentional probe. That data moves instantly into fleet-wide intelligence channels. Not for headlines, not for public briefings, for doctrine updates. Because that spike changes posture. At 0542, the Iranian fast patrol craft drop below 20 knots. Their formation stretches out. No longer synchronized, the pincer has dissolved. But something else has formed. A shift in doctrine. The carrier strike group transitions to launch on detect protocol for future sustained coastal illumination events. No extended confirmation window, no long verbal sequence if a targeting grade lock holds. A sustained lock now means an immediate defensive response. No public announcement is made. But every combat systems officer aboard the strike group understands the adjustment. That is the response, not a strike. Calibration. On the destroyer's bridge, the captain watches the range climb. 3.1 nautical miles, 4.8. The Iranian vessels are now parallel rather than converging. No further radar spikes detected. Coastal emissions drop back to background levels. The Seahawk makes one final low pass. Not aggressive, not close enough to provoke, but impossible to ignore. Rotor wash throws spray across the Iranian vessel's deck. Sailors look up. Cameras catch the moment. Then the helicopter climbs to 500 feet and turns back toward the destroyer's flight deck. Mission complete. No offensive package leaves the deck. No vertical launch cells open, no deck systems engage, but the message has already been delivered in layers of steel, radar, and restraint. You can push, you can test, you can illuminate for 1.7 seconds. But you do not control what happens next. At 0548 local time, the strike group resumes standard transit spacing. Combat air patrol remains overhead. Airborne early warning expands the surveillance bubble to 200 nautical miles. Surface watch remains doubled. Nobody assumes this is finished, because encounters like this are rarely isolated. They are rehearsals. Iran tested compression geometry. They tested radar illumination. They tested air pressure. They found the limits, and those limits just moved closer. Inside CIC, the tactical action officer logs the final note of the encounter. No systems engaged, all contacts disengaged. Strike group posture elevated. That elevation will not disappear overnight. The next time coastal radar holds above 1 second, the reaction window will be smaller. The tolerance thinner, the intercept faster. Iran pushed too far to call it routine, but not far enough to force a final response. They stepped onto the edge, and the Navy moved the edge. Quietly, permanently. Because sometimes the most decisive response is not the one the world sees. It is the doctrine that changes afterward. 0602 local time. The Arabian Sea looks calm again. No smoke trails, no debris, no headlines. The carrier strike group continues along its transit line as if nothing happened. But inside the network, everything has changed. Combat Information Center replays the sequence from 0517 onward. Every radar sweep, every bearing shift, every emission spike, the Iranian fast patrol craft acceleration profile is isolated and stored. Engine signatures cataloged. Wake geometry analyzed. Reaction times measured down to the second. The 1.7-second fire control illumination from the coastal site is examined frame by frame. Frequency band logged, modulation pattern archived. Signal strength compared against previous encounters. Iran did not launch, but it transmitted. And in modern naval operations, transmission is exposure. Above deck, the Seahawk's sensor footage streams into encrypted storage. Close-up imagery of the Iranian bridge crew, antenna configuration, forward mount orientation, thermal profiles from exhaust systems under high throttle. Data. Clean, actionable data. In the air, the Super Hornets transmit radar capture logs from the brief lock event. The Iranian fighter's targeting waveform is mapped and tagged. Future encounters will recognize it instantly. That is the quiet consequence. Iran intended pressure. Instead, it delivered signatures. The strike group shifts from defensive alpha to an elevated steady-state posture. Combat air patrol spacing tightens by 5 nautical miles. Electronic monitoring expands its filter sensitivity. Aegis threat prioritization routines update automatically across the formation. No announcement is made, no broadcast goes out, but doctrine adapts in silence. The destroyer's commanding officer steps back from the tactical display only after the range to the Iranian vessels exceeds 12 nautical miles. They remain on radar, but they are no longer maneuvering, no longer compressing, no longer shaping the geometry. They drift along the edge of visibility, testing the perimeter without crossing it again. At 0618 local time, the Iranian airborne contacts return to coastal airspace. Their retreat vector confirms there is no further intercept geometry. The Hornets maintain distance until positive separation is achieved. Only then do they turn back toward the carrier. Fuel state normal, systems unused, mission logged as contained escalation. But containment is not victory, it is calibration. Within minutes, intelligence summaries begin compiling. Fleet headquarters receives the first encrypted packet before sunrise fully clears the horizon. Fire control illumination duration, surface compression timeline, airborne lock interval. Every second matters, because the next encounter will reference this one. Iran believed it was demonstrating resolve, but resolve without follow-through becomes revelation. They showed how quickly they accelerate, how closely they compress, how long they hold a targeting signal before breaking away. They showed thresholds, and thresholds can be studied. The strike group never altered course, never raised its voice, never initiated contact. That discipline carries weight far beyond a single morning, because escalation is a ladder, and Iran climbed one rung too high, not high enough to force a major response, but high enough to trigger memory. The difference between routine shadowing and targeting-grade illumination is narrow. They crossed it briefly, and that brief crossing resets expectations. Next time, the engagement window will be shorter. Warning cycles will be compressed. Authorization thresholds will sit lower. Not publicly, not politically, operationally. At 0640 local time, the Arabian Sea returns to visual stillness. Deck crews resume routine movement. Maintenance rotations begin. Radar screens fill once again with commercial shipping patterns, and distant weather returns. But every sailor aboard the destroyer understands what happened. For 4 seconds, the air carried the tone of imminent confrontation. For less than 2 minutes, steel hulls tested dangerous geometry. For 1.7 seconds, a coastal battery illuminated American aircraft. Iran pushed, and the Navy did not blink. But blinking was never the point. The point was adjustment. Doctrine shifted, response times shortened, tolerance narrowed. No interceptors left their cells, no visible aftermath marked the water. Yet the encounter mattered, because in modern naval competition, dominance is not always measured by damage. Sometimes it is measured by who controls the escalation curve. Iran attempted to create friction. Instead, it accelerated refinement. It wanted to demonstrate that it could pressure a carrier strike group. What it proved was how quickly that pressure activates layered readiness. That was the mistake. Not the approach, not the illumination, the reveal. The Arabian Sea is quiet now, but the next time radar holds above a single second, the answer may not arrive as another warning. And that difference is why testing the U.S. Navy too far is rarely worth the risk.